Go. And Bingo was his name. Oh, hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Garden Quilt and Art Show. Let me see if anyone's in here. Okay. It will take a few minutes for the announcement to go out. Hope everybody's having a good day. It's cold up here in the Northeast. Put my code in. Okay. So I will wait. I think it's taken a minute for it to go out. Or I'll just sit here and talk to myself. Not like that would be the first time. Yes, 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 y'all. Okay, so that's the big screen. That's the chat. Almost homesteading with Janet. You're number one. Watching as hubby drives us home. Maria Graham. Hi, Auntie in the bushes. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't have to sit here and talk to myself. Oh, Janet, a couple things I wanted to tell you. Number one, you are correct. Your comfrey is alive and well. But let me not be rude and say hello to those of you who are here on the replay. Those of you who are friends and family channel members. Miss Shirley, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you, sis. And the moderators, of course. I couldn't make it without the moderators. And the subscribers, and those of you visiting the first time. If you like it, come on back. Put the thumbs up, share it out, and let everybody know so that we can reach more people. So that we can reach more people. Yes. My sister says, Sissy, do you know that you repeat things? Yes. Trying to remember what I was going to say next. Like before I came here, okay, get your glasses and some tissues. Get some glasses, your glasses and some tissues. When I awoke from a health incident one time, my granddaughter was taking care of me. I just saw a new decoration that my helper put up. And I don't know if my screen is backwards, but it's backwards. But I'll show it to you. It's so cute. She rearranges my little Christmas arrangements whenever she comes, and she bought some of them with her own money and decorated them. It's really, really cute. I guess she probably says, it took you 2 days to notice. Yeah, it did. It did. So, where is hubby driving you home from? Almost homesteading with Janet. I've been watching all of your vlogs, your shorts, all of your things. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you know that when you are posting something, I'm always messing around with something. You see where it says GQUAT Garden Quilt and Art Show? Well, I made it darker. I didn't like that light purple. And the background around it, when I first went to Restream, everybody had, and I love the colors. It's just that everybody had it. It was like a chartreuse, a bright pink up in the left corner, and it migrated around to the purple and the blues. Those were my favorite colors, but I wanted to do something different. So I made it some orange and pink and stuff. Sissy, hello, Joanne Stevens, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you, and welcome all of you to the chat. Well, me, myself, and I've been having a rough week. I have asthma and bronchitis, and I usually I'll have to wait until tonight. That's what she's been doing, Janet, until the video comes up, she says she, and hubby, Mr. James. And I just forgot what I was going to tell you. Oh, I'll remember it or not. Or not. Oh, I know. How many of you know that when you post a video, a vlog or anything, there's something called SEO, which is search engine optimization. Not that it matters with me because you say I don't know, you know how to do your border of your name on here, Miss Tech Whiz. I'm pushing buttons. Some work, some don't, many of you know. But it depends on the program that you're using. Before I was using StreamYard, now I'm using Restream. Well, on the right hand side of the screen are a bunch of little buttons. You got to be careful if you're on live though, because you will disappear, your voice will be going out, but people won't see you. But going back to the SEO or search engine optimization, there are certain words that you put in. I don't care how great your video is. And you say, I did all this work. And 10 people saw it. 3 people put the thumbs up. But you know what? You have to, if you want to put it out there in the metaverse, you have to put hashtags. Like one of the hashtags, if you're doing something, no matter what it is, if you put like after you put the title in the name, if you put hashtag DIY, that means like a do it yourself. It goes out to anybody that's looking for something to do it yourself. Or if you put like hashtag gardening, that's a big one that people look at. If you put hashtag art, there are more people that look at art videos than look at sewing or quilting. So you'll see, if you look in the head of mine, I always put something in. I put hashtag storytelling. You would be surprised how many people are interested in storytelling. And you know, everything I do, there's some kind of little story over the years. You know, when you've lived to be set for like four score and how many years ago our father set forth on, what is it, the preamble to the Constitution, the Gettysburg Address, something. We had to memorize all that stuff back then. Now, all I have to do is remember to take my medicine. Don't always do that. I have an alarm system that my medicine goes in now. Like the little thing that goes on your neck. Help me, I'm falling and I can't get up. Yes, I have one of those living alone in my senior apartment. I love it here. I miss my family, but I love it here because it's quiet and it's on one floor. Everything else I have to do steps. And Miss Shirley, oh gee, you will find out next month when you have your knee replacement. And prayers for Miss Shirley. She's having a total knee replacement. Guess what? I had a total left knee replacement February 13th of last year. And the physical therapy afterwards was rough. I'm still doing it. But I also had the year before that a right knee replacement. Okay. 2 years before that, I had a hip replacement. I'm totally bionic. Yes, Janet, a life alert. Now I have a medicine alert too by the same company that does the life alert. And if I don't take excuse me, spitting all over myself, if I don't take my medicine on the time that it's scheduled, an alarm comes on. It goes, and the thing is so darn loud, I can hear it in my bedroom. When the salesman came and brought it, I set it up in the kitchen because I didn't want him germs in my bedroom. No dudes go in there. Get out of here. Put it in the kitchen. So he put it in the kitchen. It's still here because it was so loud. And sometimes I oversleep the 3 times a day that I have it set. When I oversleep and don't answer it, or even if I'm not home, they call me on the telephone. Hi, Miss Ellen. Were you able to take your medication? No, I was asleep. I'm not home. Or, but I noticed the last Sunday I was at Mom's house. They called me, and I said, "Oh, I don't know how to stop it or shut it down when I'm not going to be home, because guess what? It has a battery inside." And this is good for those of you who have parents that live alone or something. So it will call you. It will call you. So I told them when they called me on Sunday at Mom's house, I said, "Well, I won't be home for the next one at like 2 p.m. So can you put it in so that they don't waste their resources calling me?" Francesca, thank you. I watch y'all. I was actually in the bushes. I'm getting over some kind of little bug, you guys. I was coughing a little bit on Saturday on the live, but I noticed earlier in the week I was saying about my bronchitis. It gets I get it like once a year in the summertime. I don't take my inhalers. Should have brought my inhaler in here, but I took it about an hour ago. My two mouth inhalers, no, two nose inhalers, whatever. But excuse me, I had two little procedures last week, and one of them was just some stuff, but the second one, the dental one, I had my mouth open for 2 hours. And like in the beginning, they even said, "Well, can you breathe out of your nose?" Why? Because they had my mouth open with all that stuff hanging out. I'm getting two crowns in the front of my teeth for the two teeth that I chipped. And I said, I'm lung breathing. Anything that's in this whole place all day long, I'm lung breathing it. Ew. They had their masks on. They were just regular masks, not an N95 or anything, like the strong ones that take more pollutants out. But you can't protect yourself from everything in the whole wide world. So it is what it is. Excuse me. But then Sunday, I didn't feel well. And all week long, I have been taking my fermented garlic. It's so dark, it looks like molasses now. My ginger, lemon, you name it, all the natural stuff. And I can tell when it gets down. I was having bronchospasms when I cough. It was so hard, my ribs hurt, my stomach. I remember one time when I was back in the days when I was working, my boss's wife was very tiny, like a size 1 or 2, and she coughed and she cracked one of her ribs. She coughed so hard. So I didn't want to go to the doctor's office, right? Because all the sick people are there. I don't want to be there for Christmas. So if any of you played chess, I played an advanced move. I called them up. All I wanted them to do was give me my normal prescriptions that I take when I have the bronchial inflammation, right? And you can't call in a prescription number and get a refill. You have to talk to the doctor's office. So the receptionist said, "Oh, Miss Pankey, the doctor's in with a patient. I will leave a message." So I said, "Well, you would take care of you." Oh, the circus, that's kids. I grew up in a big family, and I have a big family. I have kids, grandkids, great grandkids, one great grandchild, and guess what? A new great grandchild is coming in May. Speaking of great grandchildren, if you don't mind, I'd love to show you a photo. Or did I download it? I didn't download it. Hum. Okay. Well, first I will show you the one I did download because he had a game yesterday. Look at this handsome guy. Isn't he elegant? My 16-year-old great grandson. I'm trying to get it so that it's not a glare. With this full beard at 16, basketball player. He had a game yesterday. I have another game with him going up for a dunk. I mean, not a game, a photo. Let me go in the family chat. Janet sent me a text. What are you going for today? And I love this one. Look, that would be the Cambo up there going for the basket. Somebody's trying to block him. But look at that boy, that man. That man is up there. Boom. He flies. And he's a foot taller than me. A foot taller. I mean, he has grown 2 feet in the last 2 years. He used to be up to my shoulder when I moved in this apartment. Now I'm barely up to his shoulder. But it's not a circus. It is a family. And I wish I had more. I wish I had more. Biologically, I have, because I have lots of children, grandchildren. People on Facebook know me, know that I have people, all races, all creeds, all religions. Janet said, look at him. And they call me mom. They call me auntie. And they have for like maybe 60 years, the last 60 years. I've always been a big sister. Uh, the kids next door to me call me sister. I think some of you were here, and I told a funny story about one of my former clients. I used to breed Cane Corso Italian Mastiffs, right? And I had one client who bought, I think, one or two dogs for me, and she was a professional. What was? Oh, I think a professional hockey player, something, but in the profession, skater, ice skater, power skater, something. But she bought a dog from me, and we have been in touch for years and years and years. And one day she called me. I wasn't in the Connecticut house. I was in the North Carolina house. And she called. She says, "Hey, Auntie, how you doing?" I'm doing great. And my mother was in North Carolina at the time, and she said, "I'm making some eggplant parm, with that Boston accent." So I said, "Oh, that's great. My mother makes pasta from scratch. Mrs. Galero, that we grew up with next door, taught her how, and my mother makes eggplant from scratch." So Katie said, "Oh, that's really cool." And Katie had spoken to my mother many times on the phone. In fact, that day, my mother answered the phone and gave it to me. So I said, "My mom makes really great eggplant." And she said, "Is your mother Italian?" I said, "No, my mother is black." Katie said, "But I talked to her before." I said, "Yeah, and she's still black, just like me." I don't know how it came up. Everybody wasn't on Facebook and stuff. This was 20 years ago. It was really funny. So you could hear a pin drop. It was dead quiet for like, I want to say 3 minutes. And I learned in marketing and sales in undergrad school that when something comes up or you ask a question, you don't say one word. After a while, the other person will get uncomfortable or something. They will respond eventually if you don't say anything. So I didn't say anything. I just let her, I just let her wiggle in it. Oh, and try to figure it out. So after a while, she started talking. She goes, "Al, you really got me with that one. I never knew your mother. I never knew you guys. Your mother was black." I'm like, "Yep, we are." She said, "Doesn't matter. You're still my aunt." I said, "Well, I appreciate that, Katie. I appreciate you, Katie girl." Yes. So looking in the chat, and let's go to the garden. For those of you who are new watching in, GQUAT stands for Garden, Quilt, and Art Traditions. And these are some of the traditions that my family and I have done for the last 8 generations. And it's gardening, cooking from scratch, sewing, the heritage arts, and then later on I added some of the fine arts to it. So let's do an update on some of my challenges that are going on that I'm participating in. Almost Homesteading with Janet is participating in, what was she doing? Oh, the daily vlog. So I'm in the challenge where you put $5 in cash minimum in an envelope every week. So I'm putting my $5 in. The challenge started November 1st and it go 2024, and it goes to November 1st, 2025. So today is, oh my gosh, December 19th? Yeah, December 19th. I can't believe that it's less than a week until Christmas. Mother, Mom, look, I didn't feel good. And you said, look, that long, awkward moment just fester there. I did. I'm the queen of game. You know, game recognizes game. So this is Cameron's quilt. His isn't finished. The girls' quilts are finished. Oh, let me show you guys something. Let me put my pen up. So, you know how I turn this camera around sometimes to show you all those pillows and things that were on the sofa? Look, it's cleaned off. All those things are going into the mail. You're doing Vlogmas and going to jump into WIG soon. I'm in WIG Grow Off, but all I've posted pictures of was me with my crown on. Oh, I'll save you. I won't put it on right now because it's only going to fall on the floor. It's too heavy, and I'm not used to wearing one. I bump around too much. So I will start actually dropping seeds after the first of the year. I'm too busy doing other things. So I don't know what happened here. I don't want to bump anybody. And I want to try to, I want to show you one more photo because this is what I have been doing this afternoon, except I didn't finish it because I didn't feel well. So this is the oatmeal raisin cookies I'll be making for Christmas. There will actual the recipe, and it's this old fashioned recipe. I actually use Quaker, the reflection from my Arrow Garden, Quaker oats, real vanilla extract. I make it, but I'm out of it. Do you see how dark that brown sugar is? I make my own brown sugar with cane sugar and with molasses. And then the other bowl has my flour and baking soda and a pinch of salt in it. And I will mix it around. And the brown sugar is on top of my butter at room temperature. I try to use natural products. K Renee, thanks for welcome. And welcome, welcome, welcome. So I make the old fashioned. I brought this to show you guys the old fashioned oatmeal. We always use Quaker oats growing up. I actually like the old fashioned, but for baking, I buy the 1 minute oatmeal because it seems like it cooks faster because the oats are thinner. But you don't see any bio blah 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 in here. You don't see any chemicals. You don't see, everything is natural. Butter, sugar, words that you can pronounce. Butter, sugar, flour, molasses, vanilla, and oatmeal. That's it. That is it. How do you make the brown sugar, Janet? You take, now I use cane sugar. It depends on what the budget is, but you know, I will spend a few pennies more to live a little longer. I only use cane sugar. For baking, I like domino sugar because it's ground really fine. The one in the yellow bag, you get a small bag like 4 pounds for the same amount that you pay for the big blue bag, at Wally World. So, Matthew Whittington, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to do a thumbs up, please. Does something to the algorithm, and I might get a few more people, excuse me, to talk to share my almost 80 years of wisdom. So I already have this in so many forms in my book. So going back to what Janet asked me, I take cane sugar, and it depends on how dark you want the molasses to get. And you would think that the molasses would get gooey and turn into a paste. It does not. It does not. So depending on how much sugar you need, I'm multiplying this times 4. So this makes 4 dozen cookies. I'm making the batter for 6 dozen cookies. Matthew Whittington says he has 5954 until 5K subscribers. Somehow that math doesn't seem to work out. But we're going to help you, Matthew. You know that I'm a subscriber. Nikki, the everyday life of an OCD-ish chick. So there will be oatmeal raisin cookies, but I'm just going to put them in big Ziploc bags, and I won't bake them until like Monday and Tuesday, so that I go to mom's house on Wednesday. So it took me a minute to get to hello, mother. I love you. Ego amote. Took me a minute. I think I was like a few seconds late signing on today because FedEx came to the door. They rang the entry system and said, "I have a package for you." I said, "Yes." And I gave them Miss Shirley, "I'm a disabled senior. Can you bring it to the door like on the directions?" He said yes. But I know why he rang it, because it was something expensive. And if it gets missing, it's on them. So they have to bring it to the door. So I buzzed him in. "Mother, I have your package. La la la." No, not telling you what it is. So just a minute. I'm trying to see what you guys are saying in the chat. All right. Excuse me. So let's talk about the next thing I wanted to tell you all. And because we're going to go over to the sewing machine, I'm participating in a couple of challenges. One is, and I'll put the link in the description, and it's with Quilt Africa Fabrics. And we are doing a modern quilt, but we're doing it with African fabrics, so it's called an Afro modern quilt. They've had a series going on that tells you what is modern quilting. It's a special art genre of its own. It's considered to be elevated, again, more than like, not more than, but equal to like fine art. It is a fine art. In fact, mine is going to be an art quilt, and they have the different categories. I think less than 12 inches is considered an art quilt. I'm making mine, I want to say 20. Well, I'm going to actually submit three of them. Actually, this is going to be one of my submissions. I'm actually going to finish it, thread paint it with you guys, because this is a hand drawn elephant. These are all African fabrics. They're sort of glued down, a little bit sewn down. These will be blades of grass, the elephant running through tall grass, short grass, and a little dragonfly over here. But I'm going to finish him and submit him. And I started an African hut. She is sister to me, as you are also, Sister Janet. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Francesca. Family is family. Family is family. And that's what I say in this channel, where good friends become family, and family is everything. I'm talking about this so that I can encourage you guys to do what you love and love what you do. A lot of us are growing indoors right now, and whether you drop seeds or not, you're planting it. I have sent out a couple of packages. Janet, your package is on the way. Who else? Tigsy, you're not in here, but your package will be on the way in the morning. You guys who sent your postage, your package is in the mail. Or if you won a giveaway, so PIA, your package is on the way. Sissy Joanne Stevens, your package is on the way. So I want to tell you about color values before we go over to the sewing machine. A lot of you know that, well, I'm doing something, as it says, scrappy dots and dash quilt. Well, originally, the original pattern that I saw, and I don't even know if I saw all of the video because I never do. I never do what I'm supposed to do. I never do what the instructions say. I do me. I have my own fabrics, my own stuff. So nobody's going to tell me what to do. If I like it, I will. If not, no, nope, nope, nope. So the dots and dashes. The dots are considered small pieces of fabric. Now, the lady I saw was Quilt and Color, and I will put her in the chat. And she's making hers with 1.5 inch strips. Well, a lot of you know that you can buy pre-cut strips that are 2.5 inches. I pre-cut all of my own. So the last challenge that I did, I don't want to pick it up and drop all these blocks I have spent 2 months putting together with the small strips on them. They are in foursies right now, and they need to be ironed and sewn, trimmed, and put together. But all the strips that were bigger than 1.5 inches, all the 2.5 inch ones, I saved to make another project. And another project, when you're sewing, for those of you who may want to sew, thread is very expensive, especially quilting thread. Mother Pankey, Miss Shirley OG says hello. She's watching, she's listening. When I talk to her later, she'll say, "Oh, my present came. You have more than one present, Mom, but your big present, which is a small present, usually the biggest things are in the smallest packages." So, yep, yours came today, Mom. So, going back to the scrappy dots and dash quilt, I call the dashes the longer strips of fabric. So, anything larger than 2.5 by 2.5 square, I'm calling Tigsy. Tigsy, I got you're probably in the bushes watching me. I got your shipping, whoops, your shipping money, and here's your package. It's going out in the morning as soon as I have somebody help me go to the post office. Maria Graham, oh my goodness, your package is so heavy. It must be 25 pounds. So there are a lot of steps going up this vintage post office that I go to. So I will have help tomorrow, and that will be my last mailing before Christmas. Michelle Tigsy, your ears must be burning. So Tigsy will be joining us doing some quilting things. Auntie Joanne is joining the Quilt Africa Fabrics Challenge. And some of the things for her challenge are in her box. Some of the things for Tixie's challenge are in her blocks. That's why I tried to get theirs out to them before Christmas. And they have my phone number and they can call me, excuse me, or email me to if they need any suggestions, whatever. Tixie just got off work and in the house. Missed the beginning of the live. That's okay. You can go back. It wasn't, we were just chit chatting. Cheers. So, going back to the dots and dashes, it's actually a scrap quilt. And then I took the leftover scraps that I had, and there's something called leaders and enders. A few minutes ago, I said that thread is expensive. Quilting thread is thicker than most thread, but you can use all purpose thread. Because I used to be a long arm quilter, I just like the heavier thread. And some of these quilts are going to my kids that are going to be putting some wear and tear on these quilts. And so I decided that I wanted, it's always fun to receive as well as giving. I love to give. Oh. Before I forget, I don't mean to be rude. A little mail haul. I got two beautiful Christmas cards, and for people to take their time and put it in snail mail, put their money, excuse me, their money on the stamp to send it. I really appreciate these. And these were large size cards. One is from Gina, and the other one is from Psalm 146. Psalm 146, your package is in the mail too. Your giveaway package. So, going back, my sister says I talk about so many things, and I always find some way to get back to it because I try to respond to you in the chat as well as talking about what I had in mind and made notes to talk to you about. So, my dots and dash quilt, and you guys can do the same thing. You use the scraps that you have. Also, in quilting, to save thread, you do what they call chain piecing. So I always sew everything two by two. If I do one block, I put the next one close to it so there's not that long string of thread that you cut, because you have to put it in the back of the machine so it doesn't get tangled up. It also prevents it from tangling up when you start the next stitch. When I used to use my little featherweight sewing machine, and some of the Singer vintage machine, this thing was so powerful. They always picked up the first stitch. They always picked up the last stitch. It never got turned over. I didn't understand why. Why are people using something called leaders and enders? And then when I started buying that expensive quilting thread, you don't want to waste 6 inches of thread every time you come to the end of a seam, cut it, and then go get the next one. So you just chain piece, you feed one onto the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. So one of the ways of making leaders and enders is to take these dots and dashes, and between blocks, you put those in. So I had a lot of scraps, 2.5 inch scraps, after I finished that 25-year box of strips. And I made the blocks for my legacy quilt. I had these left, so I wanted to make kind of a scrappy quilt in that vein. And then I thought about my grandmother's quilt. My grandma in North Carolina did a lot of quilting, and my grandma in in Pennsylvania, did a lot of hand stitching, crochet, embroidery. She used to bleach out the cloth feed sacks and embroider on them. So my quilting interest I got from my grandma in North Carolina, although I didn't learn how to quilt until I was in my 50s. I learned how to sew by hand when I was 7, because I was a brownie, the only brown brownie in my troop here in Connecticut. And I learned how to do all the fancy hand stitching, and I made my first little skirt by hand. But Grandma Della's quilts, she had pieces of old dresses, pieces of old clothes that she would cut out and make the middle of the pattern. But in the background, and a lot of you know, was always unbleached muslin and those old Southern quilts, like kind of that off-white fabric that was kind of wrinkly. I love that. They look so antique. So I wanted this quilt to be kind of antique but kind of modern as well. So I didn't want to make it all of the whitish strips, the off-white. I didn't want to make them all unbleached muslin. So I went in my stash and I always buy whenever I use fabric, whether it's white, I only use white fabric when I'm making like veterans quilts for like Quilts of Valor, flag quilts. That's the only time I use pure white. And I never use just plain white. I always get white with different patterns in it. It might be three or four colors of white, three or four colors, hues, shades of red, several colors, hues, shades of blue. So this quilt that I'm going to make, I wanted to make it look like grandma's old quilt. So I went and I just want you to see, you know how I always interview different quilts, I mean fabrics, especially my African fabrics. I want to show you all these different colors, shades of white. So whenever I make a quilt and I want a light color, can you see this? I put all these colors in and it gives it depth, it makes it interesting, and it's not just one color. It's not boring and it's very interesting. And then let me see. And then there are different for the unbleached muslin. I want you to know there are different qualities. There's some unbleached muslin that is so porous it's almost like cheesecloth. You don't want to put that in a quilt. If you want to make jelly, the bags excuse me, talking too fast. The bags that you strain the jelly in, you can use that. But you want to use premium unbleached muslin if you want to put it in a quilt. Now, and even the unbleached muslin comes in different shades. So this is one of the unbleached muslin. It's really soft, it feels good, and when this quilt is washed, it's going to be all wrinkled like grandma's quilts. So this one's going to be kind of an antique looking quilt too. So I have a whole bunch of dots and dashes over there. Each one of these fabrics, I have intentionally cut a 2.5 inch strip. You can buy 2.5 inch strips already pre-cut from almost anywhere, and they're called jelly rolls. They usually come 30 in a pack, and there's usually two of each color. So I use this. I cut my own whites because even when you buy jelly rolls, there are never enough light fabrics. So these are the ones that I'm going to put in this scrap quilt called Dots and Dashes. And I want to show you one last thing for a quilt. And this one is a darker tan than all of these, and it's called tea dyed muslin. Why am I telling you this? Because you can make your own tea dyed fabrics. You can take some tea bags, the black tea, put them in a pot on the stove, get the tea really dark. You can make it like kind of tie dyed, or you can just dip it. If you got like something like a sheet, I quilt with all cotton fabrics. So if you have all cotton, Tixie told me earlier she has an old sheet for a project. You don't need it for this one, Tixie, because you're going to use it for an underlayment. But if you want to use it for a fabric on top of the quilt, you want to dye it so that it has some swag. It looks good. So these are going to go over to the sewing machine and we are going to sew some dashes and dots and dots and dashes. And eventually this will be a scrappy quilt and it won't be a big quilt. I think I'll make it maybe 45, 50 inches wide enough to cover these hips, and have some to tuck under the booty. the Bahuti. And so that's what we're going to do. After I leave the live, I'm going to go over and make the oatmeal cookies. I'm not putting any nuts in it because some of the people in the family have nut allergies, including the mom who's expecting the baby in May. So I'm making sure there are no nuts in the way. These will be either plain or, excuse me, craisin. Excuse me, 1 minute, you guys. And you have a lot of black tea bags and white sheets. You can do this. You can do it. You can use the hibiscus tea and make some with, like, it'll be pinky red unless you make it really, really dark. You can use beet juice. You can dye your fabrics naturally. Back in the day, they used bark, they used berries, they didn't use dye. So you can dye things naturally, and you can make things that are healthy to the environment and to yourself. So now I see I've been on about 45 minutes. So we're going to do a combined 15-minute challenge. Excuse me. If I need it, if I needed it, I will come back and get my water. But guess what, you guys? I didn't put the other stool over here. So I'll just bring this stool. How about that? How about that? So here is my handy sewing machine. I just want to see what you guys can see. All right, so then I'm going to turn this up on, and here are some of the dashes that I have already pre-cut in all those fabrics I just showed you. And I didn't have the tea-dyed muslin then, and it's not that much darker than the others, but you can make yours as dark as you want to. Do any of you have any questions about this so far? So I'm calling these the dashes, and I'm not going to make them all this size. Whoops. And this 2.5-inch block will be the dots. So I have already sewn a bunch of these together, and I had all these beautiful fabrics. See, this is where I started. And what I'm going to do, you made a homemade wood stain using steel wool and vinegar for your tabletop and benches. I'm glad you said that, Francesca, because that's another way of dyeing fabric. You can use the rust from the steel wool. You can use onions, red onions, regular onion skins, and boil them. You can use all those things to make natural, natural dyes. So this is one I started. Then I said, oh, I don't want, this is going to be beautiful, all these colors. And what you do is you make a long rope of fabrics that they call a snake. Then you roll it up, then you cut it to the length that you want it to be. I've already decided mine is going to be about 50 inches across. Robin Murphy, thanks for coming, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm trying to show you guys, those of you who want to quilt, that you don't have to spend $20 a yard like I spend for a lot of this African fabric, a lot of my batiks and stuff. You don't have to do that. Why do I do it? Because it's my money and I want to. I love them. I love the weight. I love everything. But I also like the vintage stuff. I like everything. I like everything. So is going to be a travel quilt. And I said, when I'm putting all these light colors in it, when I'm on a plane or whatever, you don't get blankets on a plane anymore. And anyway, who would want to be under one of them stank things after people been doing whatever underneath them? Now, you don't want that. You don't want that. So this will be my travel blanket, and especially some of those long flights, changing planes, like when I go to Auntie Joanne's house. So this one would be a dash and two dots. So I'm just going, exactly, Nikki. I'm just going to be sewing some of these together, but I didn't want all these colors. Oh, look at this piece. Look how cute this is. These really were scraps. You see, this was part of a child's piece of fabric. I love looking at these old fabrics that I've had from years and different things because I cut up whatever I had. So that's what going to be one of the fun when I'm sitting on a plane bored, me and Mr. Hershey, because we can't leave Mr. Hershey. Hey, Brampton, Rochelle, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. So I have this big long strip, so it's begging. Well, I actually have a light one there. So I will put a dark strip next to this one. It already has two dashes, but who cares? It's my thing. Do what I want to do. So I love making scrap quilts because you use whatever you have. Tixie, this is one you could put your old clothes in, especially old men's shirts. Those nice work shirts. You can get them at the dollar store. Now you don't have to backstitch. Me, I know my snakes, my strips are going to be getting a lot of wear and tear. So I don't want mine coming loose before I do. I heard a noise. I put Mr. Hershey in the bedroom. He was real aggravated when the FedEx man came, so I put him up. Psalm 146. How you doing? How's my bean juice? Your package is in the mail. You should be getting it before Christmas. So this long piece, I'm just going to throw over here, and I'm just going to talk to y'all, my family, while I sew some. There are so many bits and pieces of pretty fabrics over the years. Oh, I didn't show you this. So these are 2.5 inch blocks. My sister Joanne loves using these tiny blocks, but these are scraps that I had from umpteen years ago. Umpteen years ago. And so I'm calling all these the dots. I already had all these dots ready. Oh, look at this beautiful fabric. I remember one of my nieces bought these when I was in North Carolina. They had a new line of African fabrics imported, and she spent a gazillion dollars buying me like a yard of about 5 fabrics. So, and there's some batiks in here, pretty colors. So I'm just using what I have. And I cut up some unbleached muslin and some of these light fabrics. Why? Because when I travel, I want to make sure there's no germs on me on the plane. Hey Q, growing with Hudson. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'm going to spend a few minutes sewing these dots and dashes together. And this is a little strip. So I'm just doing whatever I feel like doing. But I feel like if I'm going to make a quilt that's going to be pretty light, like this was the whole width of the fabric. So I'm just going to cut it and make it shorter so that I can get some color into it. So this is how we make a scrap dot and dashes quilt. So this one has dark fabrics. Our treasured home, Nancy. Thank you for welcome. Thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome. You have you and Anastasia did a beautiful job. decorating. 1 minute. I'm okay, you guys. Just 1 minute. I had to use my inhaler. Ooh. Then, excuse me, any of you guys that use inhalers got to wash your mouth out afterwards. So, of course, I left my stuff over at the chair. A bean pie. Happy birthday. He's waiting to serve another slice of his birthday cake. That sounds like our 4-year-old. Dolores, thank you for coming. And welcome, welcome, welcome. So, we're just sitting here sewing a couple dots and dashes together. And yes, my sister just finished to get you a shot of fire cider. Oh, I make fire cider. I didn't make any this year. Oh, and those of you who were talking about broth, I should have gotten some when I was up because I did make some bone broth and I have more bone broth. Actually, I will. I have more bone broth simmering now. I simmer mine 12 to 24 hours. Then I put it in the fridge and I take the whatever fat is on there off. So do you see this, you guys? This is like jello. And this is how you make the real bone broth. This will heal you. Some people drink a shot of this every day. Can you see this? This is the real deal bone broth. I'm glad Tigsy brought that up because I make everything from scratch. This I actually started for the collard greens for Christmas because I'm in charge of the collards. Happy birthday, Bean Juice, to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday, all you December babies. T-Ha, Brother Anthony, Nephew Anthony. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I didn't do my 15 minutes yet, so let's sew a few of these dots and dashes because one day this will be Auntie Ellen's travel quilt. That's when I decided to put all the white and lighter colors in it so that it'll be clean when I'm on the plane or wherever I go. I could see if any germs. I could see if Angel steals it. Who's Angel? My sister Joanne's non-Angel, Mr. Hershey's daughter. She will be right on it. A lot of people who quilt, especially the long armors, have cats and dogs and everything. You see the animals on other people's quilts. I'm I used to be a long armor and I've been quilting a long time, but I never let animals or Mr. Hershey get on anyone's quilt. Okay? So this is an unusual piece of black fabric. I'm looking because you know what? Some of the batiks, you cannot tell the front from the back of the fabric. Batiks are dyed in mostly other countries like Indonesia, like Africa. And the fabric is so rich. I want you to see this. This is the front. This is the back. You can use either side. The fabric is so saturated and so rich. So I'm just sewing some dots and dashes to Auntie Ellen's one day travel quilt. I'm going for my sister Joanne Stevens' birth anniversary in May, and I'm going to stay a month. So I plan to take my quilt with me. Do you need a quilt in the summertime in Arizona? No. Oh, Bean Juice told you not to eat his frosting. Oh, that is hilarious. That is hilarious. Is he helping you plant anything this winter? Psalm 146. So I'm just sewing dots and dashes and dashes and dots. I'm just picking up random pieces. Most of these dots already have a dash sewn on them. Oh, I already have a daisy on there. I know Sam's going to ask me, do you have any with sunflowers? She loves sunflowers. I don't have. This one looks like it needs a light colored one because I want this quilt to be mostly light colors. So I'll just take this one and cut it. And this is how you attach dots and dashes. And then what you do when you get this long snake, you sew the sides of them together like, do I have any sewn up here? Not yet. You sew them together like you would any other quilt. You just do them in sections. There's a Christmas movie called The Fabric of Christmas, a cozy Christmas quilt. The quilts are gorgeous, but the timeline is ridiculous. Ha 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 ha. I like movies and books about quilting. So this one obviously is a modern one. I'm going to sew, and some of these are vintage fabrics, some are traditional. These are actual scraps that I took off of other stuff. That's okay, Janet. You're sick to your stomach? Lay down. Love to all. Well, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I was going to say, where did I put my phone so that I could read this? Okay. So, reading what you guys are saying. You planted one of the butternut squash seeds that I gave you in the hydroponics unit. It's going to be the squash that ate your house. Psalm 146. It's going to be the one. Feel better, Janet. I will see you later on or tomorrow in these YouTube streets. So, this one, I think I'll sew a little. I'm just going to sew a couple of more, but I want to do this to encourage you guys. Well, you know what? There is nothing more comforting than when you don't feel well to get under a nice, cozy quilt. And I want to say this, the quilt that I use and have been using for the last 10 years is actually made into a weighted blanket. For those of you who are unfamiliar with weighted blankets, Google it. So mine is a memory quilt slash weighted blanket that I used after I woke up from my coma, and had my dad's old clothes. Then I added some jeans to it to make it even heavier. So that quilt is with me wherever I go. Like Linus in his little rubbing blanket, I have that blanket in the summertime. It's across the foot of my bed. If I take a nap, I reach down and pull it over. For those of you who have been with me for a while, a Resilient Dad, ARD, commissioned a denim quilt for his father. And the quilt, his dad said he wanted a heavy quilt. So I made it for his dad. He said his dad is in someplace cold and uses that blanket every night. And his mom is trying to squeeze up under there with him. So what I'm doing is just sewing pieces and dots and dashes. Oh, guess what I just saw? Remember that red fabric from Hades that I had 160 yards of? I even have one of these. I thought I gave I thought I gave PIA the last of the 10-inch blocks. Here's another piece of it. It's the fabric that just keeps on giving, keeps on living. Some of these fabrics, it's really hard to tell the front and back. But I guess if it's that difficult to tell the front and back, it really doesn't matter, right? I'm so excited to be making a beautiful quilt out of nothing except scraps. So, almost homesteading with Janice said, thank you, Sam and Tigsy, and everybody else. So, I want to encourage each of you, and my little tickle in my throat is back. Yes, I'm drinking tea. I also I also bit the bullets because I don't want to be sick for Christmas. And even with the fire cider, the bone broth, everything, I don't want to be sick for Christmas. I don't want to take any germs to my family, my mom, the baby, my family member who's pregnant. I don't want to make anybody sick. So last Monday, I called and got some antibiotics. Have I made a confetti quilt? Sort of, kind of, Brampton. I call it a legacy quilt, and it has the tiny strips that are less than 2 inches, and these are the leftover scraps from that one. The rest, Tigsy inherited. Tigsy is getting those. So I'm moving on to this one and my 1 gazillion large quilts that are in the making, my art quilts, and some of the other challenges. And I still have 60 quilt tops that are already finished on top of the bookcase that need to go to you haven't, but you want to make it, but you haven't yet. Oh, so just get your scraps. I don't want any more small quilts. No more small quilts, right, Tigsy? I'm letting someone else take up the banner with that one. I'm not making any. Actually, I am. I am. I'm in a quilt challenge. We're dealing with Afro modern quilts, but I'm not using any pieces less than 2.5 inches. Your mother made you oh my gosh, a king size denim quilt. You're not going to find no other one, brother. You got to get somebody to make one. Oh, I tell you what, you got that ironing, that wooden iron that you won from here. I made my mother. I made my mother just a little over a month ago. And my family said, are you waiting until Christmas to give it to her? No. My mother's 93 years old. I missed her birthday, but her denim quilt is 112 inches wide by 96 inches long. It is huge and it's heavy. I sent it to the long armor because, of course, I'm not going to be lifting that over my shoulder or free motion quilting it. And they used a very light one. How much does hers weigh? Oh my goodness. I should have looked at the postage on it. It must weigh a good 10 pounds, Brampton. It must weigh a good 10 pounds. We put it on our bed for show and for pictures. Then we take it off and put it in the closet. You can't sleep under that thing. I remember my grandmother's quilts down south, and she'd have these big, heavy quilts. Some of them would had the cotton in it that used to roll up like in blankets, like it was in rolls. It wasn't flat pressed like the batting that you get now. And some of it would still have seeds in it, and the quilts would be so heavy you would want to turn over. Plus, you're already sharing the bed with one of your cousins, sister, brothers, whoever, when you went to visit or making pallets on the floor. You had to roll the quilt back, turn over, then pull the quilt back up. That's that kind of. Has anyone heard from Mike the last few days? You hope he's okay. I haven't I haven't been online much myself. I was resting and taking my medicine. I had one of those Zithromax packs that you take two the first day, then one the next 4 days. So on my day four, the first 3 days didn't do jack. Honestly, honestly, it is like a weighted blanket. That's what I was saying. My small one that I made out of my dad's old pants and shirts, and then I added a row of jeans and shirts around the edges, is my weighted blanket. Okay, you guys. I appreciate each of you coming. I don't want to hold you all night. Do what you love what you do. Egawamote, an American Sign Language. This is an I. You turn your hand to the person you're talking to. This is an L. No, this is an L. This is a U. To say I love you is this. Thank you for coming. I will see you Saturday.